Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Hope you're having a fantastic day. The Indiana Fever on the flip side of a BTA last night against the Atlanta Dream. We are going to talk about it. Shout out to the 19. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. So, look, man, we're going to have a little fun too. Yeah, I'm going to rant a little bit because that's what fans do. And yes, I get that the sky is not necessarily falling and we've got a lot of season left and all that. Hey, you're talking to a guy who roots for the Phillies, who have been the streakiest team in sports the last few years. Not all that long ago, they had the best record in baseball. Forget what it was. They were sitting at something like 34-15 or something like that. And I think they're like lost 11 of 13 since, you know, talk about streaky. So I get it. You're going to have ups and downs and all that, but we're going to talk about some problems with this particular game. And yeah, they may turn it around, but also don't forget for those who talk about the gelling stuff. And I know we're also like, hey, Caitlin Clark's also not playing. We are over 20% of the season completed. Okay. That is more than 1/5 of the season completed. So it's time to right the ship. It's time to go on a run instead of being sitting in that last playoff spot. I think tied, if I'm not mistaken, for that last playoff spot. So let's talk about this a little bit. They looked absolutely terrible last night. They looked, if you wondered, because you hadn't seen them before, if you wonder what a WNBA game looked like before Caitlin Clark entered the league, last night was an absolute great example. I don't know a single person, forget about the fact that the Fever lost. I don't know a single person that enjoyed this game because it was just in the mud, physicality, missed shots, missed layups. The whole thing was an absolute disaster. And and yeah, you know what? Part of this is just to irk some of the fans, I got to admit. But hey, sometimes we got to do that. So I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Even in the early season when they struggled, Christy Side's offense didn't look this bad. And that includes when they had Caitlin Clark earlier in this season. At least you could see the inklings of it. Even when she'd do dumb things like put Caitlin in the corner or want to slow it down, you also saw the transition and you saw what Caitlin can do as a passer. But you just saw, people not realizing that and a lot of drop passes and a lot of missed layups. But you saw what the team could be. You saw the basis of something forming. You also saw a lot of pick and rolls. They weren't great early. They weren't great, but you saw something. You saw a foundation. I have seen nothing of that with this offense and this team. There's a lot of standing around. There's a lot of give it to Lee at the top of the key, and then run Kelsey or run Sydney or run someone around her and hand the ball off, and now they're at the top of the key, and no one else has moved and they have no offense at all. It looks like the Connecticut Sun offense, and that is not a compliment. Natasha Howard was solid last night for sure, 6 of 9, 10 rebounds. But her only other good game this season was against the Atlanta Dream as well. So, I guess she's taken advantage of some mismatches. But Aaliyah Boston, as much as I've praised her, and look, see, like Aaliyah, I'm critical of this game. I'm not saying, oh, Aaliyah's terrible. She's going to bounce back, obviously. But in this game, and it's an issue because if they meet the Atlanta Dream in the playoffs, they need to solve this because they have not made adjustments. They're getting cooked inside by Atlanta's size. And we get it, the Fever are undersized. But hey, I don't know, maybe, even though I know she's only 6'2", maybe you put in Michaela Timpson because she also has a long wingspan and she also has hops. She's a good defender. Why not see what she can do? And Aaliyah also made some mistakes. One of the reasons she's 3 for 9, she had a few times where she got the ball in, 12 to 15 feet from the basket, right in front, and she had a wide open shot because Griner was not out playing her, and instead she throws a ball fake. There's no defense on her, and then drives to where Griner is waiting. And in a league of players who cannot jump, Brittany Griner's 6'9" matters a lot. And so it was very difficult to get Boston to get shots, which is why she was 3 of 9. Also only grabbed 4 rebounds. Now, of course, she also led the team in assists with 5, which is both good and bad. Even when she got a lot of assists with Caitlin Clark, she wasn't the only one getting them. And in this case, she is because no other player had more than 2. Ari McDonald, for all her energy and her performance, which was solid, 2 assists in 24 minutes from your point guard, not really what you're looking for. Not really what you're looking for. 13 assists for the game for the team. That is not a good number. 11 turnovers is a little lower, but you comp it with 13 assists. It wasn't great. Sydney Colson, 1 of 4, 25 minutes. It seemed like she wasn't even out there. Kelsey Mitchell, 5 of 16. 0 of 5 from 3, right off of Player of the Week. Kelsey has looked. She's had some big games. Obviously, she was just Player of the Week, but she's looked out of sorts all season. Does not look anything like the Kelsey Mitchell that we saw last year once she figured out how to play with Caitlin Clark. So that's a concern. Lexi Hall, Lexi, I have no problem overall with how Lexi played last night because Lexi Hall did Lexi Hall things, but she couldn't hit a shot, 0 of 5, 0 of 3 from 3. But also that was partly because she wasn't involved in the offense. But then again, this was an offense that didn't create anything for anyone. I don't know at this point, 9 games in, like I said, over 20% of the season. I don't know what Bonner is going to be able to offer this team. 20 minutes, 2 of 4, 5 points. I'm not sure what she offers, folks. And I don't say that to be mean. I like DeWanna Bonner. She's had an incredible career, but this may be what we get from DeWanna Bonner all season long. When you look at how long she's been playing and how old she is, Damaris couldn't buy a shot last night either. You look at that and you hope, well, she just didn't shoot great. Her shot seemed a little flat. Like when I looked at watched a few of her threes, she didn't have that the typical shot which she normally does. It seemed a little flat, which makes it a lot obviously lowers your percentage in terms of its chances of going in. Michaela Timpson only played a minute, which is absolutely absurd. Brianna Turner only played a minute, which is kind of, they were 21 of 58, folks. Again, by the way, 58 shots. That would be about 4. They can't even get 60 shots, and 60 shots would have them last in the league. This is a team that, as they looked with Caitlin Clark early in the season, they were at least getting 74 shots a game. I think it could be more. I didn't like a lot of what they were doing because it was still running a similar offense, and Clark was off the ball too much. But when you have Caitlin Clark out there, regardless of what the system's going to be, she's going to do some Caitlin Clark things that is going to push the tempo and create opportunities and get shots for other people earlier in the shot clock. But 58 shots is awful. There's no team. And what was it last game? 59, right? Isn't that what I said? I mean, they can't hit 60 shots a game. And when you're shooting terribly and you don't take even 60 shots a game, 5 of 24 from 3, 20%. They didn't even shoot well from the line, 11 of 18. I mean, this is a ridiculously bad game. Rebounds, 44 to 27. Folks, you can't play Michaela Timpson. You got your backside handed to you, BTA, and you can't play Michaela Timpson. 33 points in the first half, and that was a disaster, right? Ben Daniel almost lost it, and I don't blame him. And yet they only had 25 the second half. Y'all realize when things started cooking with Christy Side's team last year with less talent than this team has, they were having 33-point quarters, folks, not 33-point halves, not 25-point halves. Okay? Do you understand what it is I am saying? The words coming out of my mouth. Um, but I had a few look, the referees were terrible, okay? But I think that's gonna be all season. So we gotta accept the fact that there are going to be, you know, games we're gonna start games basically down maybe 5 or 6 points, right? That's kind of built in to the game. Um, but I did have a couple things I'm going to try. This here's a little bit of Steppy White after the game. I think it's only like 12 seconds, 12-second clip. Well,
Yeah, and we just got to get, we got to get the guys that we practice against to continue to beat the shit out of us, right? To be physical and to make things difficult for us, and we've got to be able to handle that.
or you could put in an offensive system that takes advantage of what your team can do and create better opportunities because that is what they faced last year and they were able to handle it. This is no different. This is old school. I'm getting tired of the old school. They tried to run it back, right? They tried to run it back, the Indiana Fever didn't. They brought in all these people who were part of the Indiana, golden years a decade ago, when it was all old school and NBA, WNBA, from the front office to the coach to the players they brought in the offseason, and we're seeing them play old school WNBA basketball. Right now we have, I think this is Aaliyah and
at 20.
Brittany going at it a little bit. I will say this, like we talk about how nice Aaliyah Boston is, but I will say this. She and I wish she would bring that edge to other games because she does get a physical with Brittany Griner. She doesn't back down from Brittany Griner. They absolutely have their battles. I don't know if there's anything personal in there or if it's just the challenge or what it is. Now, here's one of those things that was ridiculous talking about the calls. Now they did challenge this, but and to be fair, it's part of the way the dumb rule is written. They challenged this because I believe it was right, it was a foul call, which didn't happen, but because they're reviewing the foul, they don't get you to you can't look, let me back that up. You can't look at other things. And this is true in the NFL as well. I mean, it's just kind of dumb. So what you had here, and this is unfortunately a GIF, so I can't run it back, but you have a travel here. You have an up and down, but that's not what they were looking at. Don't ask me how they missed that. This is though is another example of you cannot possibly get this wrong, right? So I mean that is so this should be. We'll watch it from here, right? I mean, I don't know. I don't know how ended up being Atlanta ball, but it did. Let me see if I have. I think. Oh yeah, this is what's wild about the WNBA too. And hey, I will say it was called, but Brittany Griner's complaining about this. Okay, here's the foul. This is what she's complaining about. Watching the right left forearm shiver. By the way, that's dirty. If I'm a referee, knowing Brittany Griner, that is more than just a regular foul right there for me. Under normal circumstances with other players, so don't get me wrong. Um, well, you've got to call something more than a regular foul on that. Okay, you just got to do that. And so that's kind of the way things went all freaking game long. But let me run through some points. I don't want to make this one too long. Just all right. Officiating terrible. Announcers terrible. Let's talk about Ari McDonald. Now, from everything I've looked to, and it has been a nightmare because no one can seem to agree. But I'm going with they release her. They have to release her when a 10th player comes back, and then they cannot re-sign her for 10 days. So you can't just have a hardship player and sign them to a regular contract, which means Ari McDonald could go elsewhere. And of course, the Fever would have to let somebody go if they were to sign her that quickly because they don't have the cap space, which people are talking about. A lot of people are saying Bree Turner, which I get, but I'm also thinking, look, we have Caitlin Clark. Do we really want Ari McDonald and Sydney Colson? Right? It just doesn't make sense in terms of the roster because Caitlin Clark better be playing 30, 32 minutes a game. So you've got 8 to 10 minutes for a backup. So why would you have Sydney Colson and Ari McDonald? And if you're going to tell me, oh well, let's run Ari at point and then we play Caitlin off ball, I think that's ridiculous. But even if you do that, so what are you saying now? You're going to sit Kelsey Mitchell a lot? Like you have to understand that it has a domino effect on everything. So the likely choice, if you're going to be smart about the roster, it would be to let Colson go. I don't see them doing that either. Ari McDonald came in. She showed she can play. Chicago desperately needs a point guard. I don't know what they would have to do with their cap. They may have to cut someone, but hey, sometimes you got to do that because you got to fill in certain positions. And, they basically have it's HVL at this point for them. So I don't know if that's what they want to go through the season with because Courtney Vandersloot's not going to be back. But seems to be no offensive system at all with this team right now. There's a lot of standing around, and they don't really have the players right now to space the floor the way that they should. So there's a lot of standing around. There's no pick and rolls anywhere. It's a bunch of weave handoffs that lead to nothing. And someone like Mitchell or Colson comes around into the middle, and there they are. And Kelsey's been forcing a lot of stuff. And keep in mind that this is the offense that I almost said sides that White wants to run with Caitlin Clark. It would just it's not a great offense. It would just be better just because obviously Caitlin Clark brings something better to it. But this is not the offense we should be running. Um, Early, like I said, early last year's offense was better than this offense, even with a lot of the nonsense stuff that Sides was trying. But we saw the beginnings. We saw the pick and rolls, right? We saw transition here and there. We just weren't seeing enough of it, and it was sloppy. You had players dropping passes, missed layups, and all that. But we saw the basis of what it could be as it improved. And right now, we're just seeing a bad system, also executed poorly. There's no help for AB or Dantas inside. They've gotten cooked by Atlanta multiple times. Other teams, if they have the players to do it, they see that. Obviously, New York Liberty, Jonquel Jones, I mean, that's an issue as well. Yeah, it's partly officiating for sure. And, obviously, Brittany Griner's allowed to camp out in the lane. I don't think there's a 3-second rule for Griner, although there is for everyone else. But like I said multiple times, AB had the little midi and decided to force things in. So it was a decision-making thing there as well. But look, this offense from last year, second half of last year, basically should have been left alone. It could be tweaked. Obviously, you have different players and a different roster, and you might want to add some options to it. But to completely change it to a crappy Connecticut Sun offense makes no sense. You should have tweaked what was effective last year, worked off of that, and improved the defense, which is supposedly what Stephanie White, although it was supposedly what Christy Sides was good at as well. And now it's just ugly and it's slow and it's boring and it's ineffective. And we don't need that. We have the players, again, 58 shots. Even without Caitlin Clark, this roster should get more than 58 shots and shoot them poorly. And I just don't know if it's going to change when Clark gets back, unless Stephanie White hits panic mode and says, hey, you know what? Yeah, this isn't working. And I don't know if there is a long enough leash for me and my job right now because the fans are going to get loud because the fans, there are no patience for this. This is no longer rebuilding, even though it's only Caitlin Clark's second year. It's we want to max out and we want to maximize Caitlin Clark's career in terms of championships. And that means no patience. Okay? No patience. Ask the Philadelphia Eagles about no patience. There's a front office that understands that. Every year needs to be a contending year, even if you ultimately don't win, because there's only one team that does. But it should be a possibility for you. And if it's not, you make changes and you make changes quickly and you revamp and you retool and you move on better than before. So look, obviously getting Caitlin Clark back is huge. It's going to be amazing. It's going to change the offense. But again, if we run this system, it's just going to be a better bad offense that holds Caitlin Clark back instead of running an offense that suits Caitlin Clark and the players around her. Although I don't know, the more I see of it, I don't know if the players being signed were the best for that, but they still have enough, right? Howard and Bonner can still be effective in more limited roles. We know the core four can run. Okay, we know Dantas can as well. We know Sophie Cunningham can. Okay, so again, they could turn it all around. This could be a team that goes, 34-10 and picks up. They need to pick up a top 4 seed. We'll see if that happens, but I'm gonna leave it there. I just wanted to rant and run through some things. Curious what y'all think in the comments below. Yeah, let me know. What do you think of this game? What do you think of it going forward? It's not early anymore, even if it seems it. It's 20% of the season. But all right, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate you as always. I will talk to you in the next video. Go have the day you deserve.